This is Dr. Garrett Smith, the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. And this is episode 129. Yeah, I was thinking about that last night. That's a lot of shows in a row. I think I've been doing this almost for like 5 years now. And we've done 129 shows of this on YouTube. The shows before that were private. People can see all of those shows like almost 5 years back inside the advanced detox program inside the Love Your Liver network. If it's an extra part of it, it's an extra subscription. But anyway, yeah. So I've missed like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks in 5 years. And those were vacations or other things where I just wasn't in a good spot to do it. So yeah, there's lots of stuff. Anyway, today we're doing all subscriber Q&A again because I was a little behind and I didn't prep a show. So sue me. Anyway, let me pop out the chat. Let me see where we're going to start. I already saw there was a super chat. Let me see. Let me find. Oh, actually, let me send Joe a message real quick. Tell him something. Wait. I will be on. I think it was Mathe. Mathe sent the super chat. I will be on with that very quickly. And oh shit. Pardon my French. Wow, Telegram is not working right now for me. Okay. There it is. Got it. Okay, here we are. Sorry about that. Just technical difficulties in the back. Okay, so Mathe, that's how you put the pronunciation of it. I do want to say it right. Saying names correctly is really, really important to me. I tell people this on consultations all the time. I'll ask them how to pronounce their name. And I think it's like a really disrespectful thing for, let's say, I don't know, a teacher or a doctor or whatever to not pronounce somebody's name right. I don't know. That's a big deal to me. So anyway, so Mathe is how you pronounced it. So I hope I got it right. Thank you for the super chat. Okay. Can correcting the gut biome help with constipation? Yes. Here's the toxic bile theory approach of it. Well, actually, let me just go find Joe, if you want to grab maybe the link to the organic sun fiber, and then I will go over okay. So yeah, get the organic sun fiber link so people can see it. So one of the things we use that a lot of people in the program use, you don't have to, but is sun fiber. Now, what is sun fiber? It is hydrolyzed guar gum. So they have partially like pre-digested the guar gum. Guar gum by itself, okay. Do not take straight guar gum. Don't. Your gut will not like it. It's super cheap. Your gut will not like it. But I think it's partially it's partially hydrolyzed. PHGG. Partially hydrolyzed guar gum. It's been partially pre-digested. And what it turns it into is a great food for your gut biome. And let me go find, the reason I brought that up is let me find the research on it. Let's do PHGG. Joe, if you want to show my screen, constipation, there it is. I've already done this search before. Imagine that. So, Joe, can you get to my screen? Did I share my screen? Let me go check. No, it's sharing. Anywho. No? Okay, let me try sharing again. Get in here. So I got two screens going. We've had some, there's been some interesting stuff today. Screen 2. There we go. So see if that works, Joe. Oh, I got to drink my floosh, my niacin. If it's not working, Joe, I'll bring it back on the main screen and actually, that's what we were doing before, isn't it? Let me move this out of there. Okay. Well, Joe, let me try a different thing. This will be terrible if I can't share my screen. But we will survive. Let me see. Where's the... There. Wow, this is going to be an interesting day. Oh, you got it, Joe. Well, you got that screen. Let me share my screen. Let's do this one. And then let's get on this. And let's get into this. Okay. Joe, can you see it now? Can you share it? Let me know. Okay, well, we're screwed. All right. Well, then, let me read you some stuff from a couple of study titles from PubMed about PHGG. So that is what sunfiber is. Let's see, are we back on? Let me know if we're back on, Joe. We're back on. Okay. Wow, this will be a fun day. We can tell it's a fun day already. So what I was going to do, I don't know what part you got cut off, what I got cut off at. Maybe my sometimes the internet in this area of town gets a little funky. So let me read you some studies on sunfiber and constipation. Now, this is one of the reasons I started using it. Sunfiber it dissolves clear. It doesn't taste like much of anything. I've actually got it in my nicotinic acid drink right here. It doesn't thicken up. Now, this is an important thing to understand about, let's say, sunfiber versus psyllium or oats or beans or whatever. The thicker a fiber gets once it's hydrated, the more bile it tends to adsorb, which means it may also trigger more bile dumping. So you have to see with when you do soluble fiber, does it help you poop better or does it make you poop less? If it's making you poop less, you're getting more toxic bile into your bloodstream and not into your gut. And so you have to adjust. Anybody who thinks I push tons of soluble fiber on everybody has no idea about what I do, because we adjust all of this to everyone's context and their state of health. Okay? So sunfiber is more of a food for your gut biome. It doesn't thicken up. It's straight food for your gut bacteria. It's been shown to help bifido grow. It's been shown to help lactobacillus grow. So anyway, let me just read you some of these study titles. Effectiveness of an herbaceous derivatives, PHGG, plus sodium hyaluronate in the treatment of chronic constipation in patients with Parkinson's disease, a pilot study. Let me put this link in the chat. We can at least do that, right? So, but I'll also I'll also go over the things we use for constipation as kind of the LYL approach. let me find. There was a study on, one of the reasons I started using this was there was a study on, oh, here we go. Study on the ability of partially hydrolyzed guar gum to modulate the gut microbiota and relieve constipation. So let me put that link in there. There we go. Oh, here we go. Another one. Effectiveness of partially hydrolyzed guar gum in reducing constipation in long-term care facility residents. A randomized, single-blinded, placebo-controlled study. If you don't know, especially the elderly, they get lots of problems with constipation. So, and I think that's what you were asking about, Mathe, your mom, you said? Yeah. So, oh, here we go. Partially hydrolyzed guar gum in the treatment of irritable bowel syndrome with constipation. Effects of gender, age, and body mass index. Now, we are one of the very few companies, because if you all don't know yet, I take my supplement formulation very, very seriously, and I do actually think I'm kind of blessed or gifted at doing so, whatever you believe in that area. But we are one of the few companies making organic sun fiber. And yeah, there is plenty of sun fiber out there, but we're one of the only ones making organic. So let's just see if we got one more. There was one more. Oh, there was one more on autistic kids. Partially hydrolyzed guar gum accelerates colonic transit time and improves symptoms in adults with chronic constipation. There's that link. There it is. There it is. Here's the last one. Dietary supplementation with partially hydrolyzed guar gum helps improve constipation and gut dysbiosis symptoms and behavioral irritability in children with autism spectrum disorder. And anybody who's familiar with autism knows that constipation is a huge problem in that. I've talked about this before. If you haven't seen the paper on aldehydes, which we talk about a lot, and autism, it's all connected. So, okay, so Joe wants me to try sharing my screen again. Let me try that. Okay, let's see if it works now. So, Joe, that's up now. There we go. Oh, cool. Okay. So we've got that. Now, let me just go into, since we got this working again, let me take this moment to go into this paper because it's really cool. Like when you think about what it can help with, when you hear this, and then we'll go over the more natural stuff too. So the end of this is really good. Well, I think we're just going to go over the benefits. Supplementation with partially hydrolyzed guar gum altered gut microbiota and significantly increased the frequency of defecation per week and altered the gut microbiota. In addition, supplementation with partially hydrolyzed guar gum significantly decreased and tended to decrease the concentrations of serum interleukin 1 beta and tumor necrosis factor alpha, respectively. Those are good things. More importantly, supplementation with partially hydrolyzed guar gum significantly ameliorated or made better behavioral irritability as per the Aberrant Behavior Checklist Japanese version. The present study demonstrated that supplementation with partially hydrolyzed guar gum to diets of constipated autism spectrum disorders children helped improve constipation and gut dysbiosis symptoms, which in turn helped attenuate or lower the level of serum inflammation cytokines and behavioral, I keep saying that, behavioral irritability. Gosh, who in their life couldn't use all of those things? It's just much more obvious in autism spectrum children, obviously. So we're starting the as we call it, the floosh. We'll have to put up some memes about flooshing or flushing. So, but yeah, I have sun fiber. I have a whole scoop of sun fiber in my niacin drink, my nicotinic acid drink down there. And I give my lovely mother, who has Parkinson's-like syndrome, a scoop of it every day. Now, let me say about sunfiber, before you jump in, there are very specific ramp up, starting slow, like really low and slow, and then ramping up to whatever dose works best for you. The link to the instructions is on the back of the bag. And there's also, the instructions are posted in the Love Your Liver program for people to find it there. So there's a public link and there's one inside the Love Your Liver program. So I just thought I'd hit on that because this could be very helpful. The other things I call the Love Your Liver approved constipation helpers are oral magnesium, topical magnesium, which we love. And if you're not familiar with my magnesium lotion yet, you should be, because it's like twice as potent as anything on the market. And it's a great lotion. Most magnesium lotions are not very appealing lotions. And this is actually a great lotion. So the magnesium lotion topically raises your systemic magnesium levels faster than orally. Orally often doesn't raise your levels at all. I've seen it on hair tests over and over and over and over again for like 10 years now. All the crappy oral magnesiums, you can pay as much, you can buy 3 and 8 and spend money through the nose. And I can look at your hair test and go, it's not really working. You might feel better from it. I'm not going to doubt that. You may notice a benefit. But in terms of raising your levels, it doesn't work so good. And you do topical magnesium and it will raise your levels for sure. So oral magnesium, what oral magnesium is really good at is helping you poop. It's basically what we would call an osmotic laxative. It pulls water. So you take it, you get the magnesium down in your guts, but here's the key thing about using magnesium to poop. You don't want it to be well absorbed. Understand? This is why you can use, I feel the flush starting. You don't want it to be well absorbed because you want it to sit in your gut for pooping, I'm talking about. Pull water to it. Finally, your digestive system goes, look, we got all this watery magnesium mess in our gut. Let's just send it. And then you poop. Now, obviously, if you take too much, you can get loose bowels. What is our goal? If we are using anything to help us poop, what is our goal? Well, we do not want, this is a very technical term, uncomfortably loose bowels. What's uncomfortable? Well, is it uncomfortable to you? Then that's too much. Very simple. That's why I use the term uncomfortably loose bowels. Now, if your bowels are just a little loose and you're like, well, that's fine. It's much better to be pooping and have it be a little soft or a little loose than not pooping. And I do believe that. So as long as it's not uncomfortably loose, and you'll know, most of us know when it's uncomfortably loose for us. We're like, yeah, that didn't feel good. It's easy. So oral magnesium. Now, the least well-absorbed oral magnesiums, magnesium oxide, magnesium hydroxide, which is also known as milk of magnesia. But why buy milk of magnesia at the drugstore that has like bleach added to it when you could very simply buy the powder from, like, I think Bulk Supplements has it, and then just mix that in some water. Now, the other thing that you can do, for those of you who are in the Love Your Liver program and you've read Kelsey's amazing nicotinic acid articles, and you're going to be buffering your niacin, you could add various types of magnesium to the nicotinic acid as the buffer. So then you're getting some oral magnesium to help you poop, and you're buffering the nicotinic acid, so you're making it just work better in the system. Okay? So oral magnesium is one. Potassium. Potassium, I didn't realize that potassium would help pooping so well until people in the program told me. People in the program started saying when they finally got on potassium, Their pooping improved so much. They couldn't believe it. And how does this work? Well, many of the things that negatively affect your thyroid negatively affect your potassium flow in the body. I've been over how vitamin A blocks potassium channels. I've been over how copper toxicity depletes potassium. I've been over how vitamin D supplements will raise calcium and deplete potassium. That's like a direct anti-thyroid effect. I went over vitamin A in the thyroid like a week or two ago. Maybe it was 3. Who knows? I can't even keep track. It's so many episodes now. So potassium, by helping generally your thyroid function, will help you poop. Now, I have detailed articles on potassium, whether it's through foods or whether it's through supplements, in the Love Your Liver program. Those are some of the articles that will help people the most, the quickest. Magnesium and potassium. So if you go out and you start if you're going to supplement potassium, you got to plan on trying different types, and you got to plan on going up slowly, like 100 milligrams a day at most. So you can watch how you feel as you go up. Some types of potassium will agree with you. Some of them won't. It doesn't mean if you take one potassium supplement and that doesn't agree with you, it doesn't mean all the other ones are not going to agree with you. Remember, all the mineral supplements you buy have the mineral bound to something. You could disagree with the mineral, or you could disagree with the thing it's bound to. So if it's the thing that it's bound to that you're not agreeing with, try something else. Okay? So then we get into, Mathe, we have probiotics articles in the Love Your Liver program. Let me go over another probiotic that I like. You don't need to go over to it yet. So, let me see if I can find a good. That's what I wanted. Okay. So we want. Okay. So in the Love Your Liver program, we have articles on talking about probiotics. Now, the two big ones, the two big patterns, we talk about putrefactive and fermentative. And we talk about figuring out what type you are. Most likely, you could be mixed, you could be fermentative, you could be putrefactive. I was absolutely a putrefactive type. And then you can work on bifidobacterium, or you could work on lactobacillus, because not everybody needs to push both. Probiotics are a try it and see. Don't just believe jokers out on the internet telling you, here, take this probiotic. It's got 10 of the best probiotics in it. Because if any of those probiotics don't agree with your gut, or they don't get along with everything else in there, it's going to make you feel worse. Just like we do with supplements, we tend to add one probiotic at a time, or if we're doing multiple types of probiotics, we're doing multiple types of lactobacillus or multiple types of bifido. And we see which one works, and maybe both of them work. And maybe somebody takes both of them for a while. Maybe one of them works and one of them doesn't. With asking these questions that we go over, people can figure out which one is likely to get along with them the most. But have you guys ever done health questionnaires and gotten the answer and that the health questionnaire said you should be and what you should take, and you go and you take it and you feel absolutely like hot garbage? Well, what if your body just didn't agree with their normal patterns, and then you go and you try the other thing that they would say, oh, don't take this, and then you feel better on that? So then who do you believe? The people who wrote the questionnaire or your own body? I don't care what the questionnaires give us an idea of where to go, what to try. You go and you try it, and if it doesn't work, you're not trying to make yourself fit the questions. You're trying to make whatever you need fit you. This is a concept that I don't understand why more people don't understand. It's not that difficult. It doesn't matter what they tell you to take if it doesn't work for you. And this is exactly the same for me and my clients. Somebody comes to me and they got a horrible zinc deficiency. And we try giving them some zinc supplements and they don't feel good on them. So do we keep doing it? No. Maybe we figure out how they can do, let's say they feel fine on food, so they eat more food with zinc in it. That's what we can do at the time. Okay, cool. Joe says we're looking much better. So if you can see, I'm getting a little pinkish from my flush. I can see it in the camera. So Joe, let's go to the PubMed. Let's go to the share the screen. And okay, so here we go. Bacillus coagulans unique IS2 in constipation, a double-blind placebo-controlled study. Bacillus coagulans, this is a spore probiotic, lactospore. It's got tons of research on helping with diarrhea, but it's also got quite a bit of, constipation stuff. So here we go. Bacillus coagulans. Oh, wait. Bacillus coagulans probaci in treating constipation dominant functional bowel disorders. Here we go. Effective Bacillus coagulans unique IS2 with lactulose on functional constipation in adults, a double-blind placebo-controlled study. So what I'm getting at is, yes, probiotics can help with constipation. Now, how can they help? Well, within the toxic bile model. Wait, didn't want that. Want to do that. In the toxic bile theory model, probiotics would help constipation by, so your liver makes bile. The bile then goes to it's supposed to go into your bile ducts and then down into your small intestine. Now, sometimes people who have chronic constipation, there's a couple of things that could be going on here. The bile is not going into the guts, or it's not staying in the guts long enough, because bile is the trigger for you to poop. Okay. So if you have like an excess of bile in your gut, you get diarrhea. If you have not enough bile in your gut, you are constipated. If you have, the Goldilocks effect, the just right, then you poop right. Okay, so if with constipation, I'm not going to go into the diarrhea thing. I'm going to save that time today. But the constipation thing, and basically if you got diarrhea, charcoal that. Like, get it done. You can stop the diarrhea, or at least reduce it in frequency and intensity with charcoal. Do we need to do other things to fix the problem? Yes, but you can take care of the diarrhea with charcoal very easily. So, constipation. The bile is not going into the intestines. It's probably being made, but it's not going into your intestines where it's supposed to go. Where is it going? Well, the worst case scenario is what we call intrahepatic cholestasis. Intra means within, hepatic is liver, cholestasis means bile stagnation, or the bile is just going where it's not supposed to go. So think of intrahepatic cholestasis as your liver's making bile, but it's directly leaking out of the liver itself. That's why it's intrahepatic, from within the liver. It's leaking from the liver itself into the bloodstream. It's not even going to the bile ducts, the big bile ducts. It's going right back into the blood. This is the worst case scenario. These people are often, in my opinion, in my experience, from what I've been seeing, the people who are the most sensitive to supplements and foods and a lot of this stuff, especially when they are underweight. This is where I think there's an intrahepatic cholestasis pattern, most likely. Does this change anything we do? No, it doesn't change a single thing we do. So if you're out there and you're going to try to self-diagnose with intrahepatic cholestasis, and you're going to come and tell everybody on the Love Your Liver program that you think that's what's going on, it doesn't change a single thing that we do. If you take supplements or you eat certain foods and you feel bad, then don't eat them. I would do that with anybody else. I do think underweight types, and intrahepatic cholestasis people, just like, it doesn't even matter if that's the situation. If you're sensitive to things and you don't feel good on them, don't take them. Crazy. So then where else could the bile be going? Well, GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, or sometimes they call it bile reflux in the literature, or heartburn, is bile going back up into your stomach. Actually, I found a great paper the other day. Joe, let me find this first. I did toxic bile. Where was it? Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Oh, here it is, Joe, and you show it now. Here we go. Okay. I just thought this was funny because so many people, so many experts out on the internet are like, bile acids aren't toxic. They're good for us. And I'm like, yeah, no. Just look at this title, Toxic Bile Acids in Gastroesophageal Reflux Disease, Influence of Gastric Acidity. Let me put it to you this way, folks. You're not supposed to have any bile in your stomach. You understand? Do you understand the anatomy? Like, the bile is actually backflowing up into your stomach. It's going against gravity to get to your stomach. You ever wonder why, you folks who have had GERD, why when you lay down flat, the GERD gets worse? It's because it's easier for the bile to flow on a flat surface and go back up into your stomach and your esophagus than it is when you're standing upright. This is why so many people with heartburn, they sleep on extra pillows. Is so you keep the uphill so that the bile. See, why does it make any sense why, if you were laying down, the stomach acid doesn't change, right? You still have the same amount of stomach acid. But if bile is the cause of your GERD and you lay down, it makes sense that it's much easier for it to backflow up into your stomach. So you get GERD. Let's say you have constipation and GERD. The bile goes up into your stomach. That's your symptoms. And then I've shown studies here before where the bile then absorbs directly through your stomach into your bloodstream. So did that go down into your intestines to help you poop? Not at all. Not at all. And then that bile in your bloodstream contains toxic copper, toxic vitamin A, toxic metals, toxic bile acids, all these toxic things that then go into your system. And then they do things like, oh, I don't know, cause you to become hypothyroid and give you autoimmune thyroid disease. And what's one of the biggest symptoms with constipation? With constipation? It's hypothyroid, right? Hypothyroid and constipation are like bosom buddies. They go right together. So you're poisoning your thyroid with the bile that's in your blood, and the bile that's in your blood is not helping you poop. Do you see? So the goal is not necessarily, like, let's say somebody has intrahepatic cholestasis or GERD. The goal is not necessarily to make more bile. The goal is to heal the liver and the teeny tiny bile ducts in the liver so that the bile goes where it's supposed to go. If the bile is going into your stomach, we want to stop the damage. Quickest thing to help GERD is charcoal in water, not charcoal capsules. Can charcoal in water cause some people to get a little constipated? Yes, but you got to choose. Is the juice worth the squeeze, as we say? Is helping the GERD worth the constipation? Because you could use stuff like magnesium to help you poop. while you take charcoal. Okay, so other things that we often use. So we've been over 3 of the 5 things that we talk about in the Love Your Liver program. Oh, I'm sorry, 6 things. Another thing that will help you poop is nicotinic acid. Let me go find that. Let me go find this one. Okay, Joe, we can go to this one. This is a very simple one. Nicotinic acid helps fix leaky gut. It helps fix, like, the leaky gut study on alcoholics was crazy how well it helped fix it. I'm sorry, it was in mice that they gave alcohol, I believe. So, association of niacin intake with constipation in adults. Results from the National Health and Nutrition Examination. So, let's just read the results, and we'll skip over all the numbers. After adjustment, well, basically, let's just go here. Low niacin intake was associated with a higher risk of constipation. A daily intake of 0 to 18 milligrams of niacin was associated with a higher risk of constipation. And then the conclusion here, the findings of this study suggested that daily intake of 0 to 18 milligrams of niacin was associated with a higher risk of constipation compared to a daily intake of 18 to 27 milligrams of niacin. Where do we start a lot of people on nicotinic acid supplementation in terms of the amounts? Well, they might do what's called a drop, or a 1/64th of a teaspoon, or 25 milligram niacin nicotinic acid capsules. So you remember how they said 0 to 18 versus 18 to 27? And all of a sudden people are taking they just start taking anywhere from 25 to 42 milligrams of nicotinic acid. They've already jumped into the next group where there's going to be less constipation. So, nicotinic acid helps fix a lot of the damage that vitamin A toxicity causes, that toxic bile causes. It helps, you need it as energy to run your ALDH system, which we talk a lot about. So, Matej, if your mom is constipated, I would suggest you get into the Love Your Liver program. And the very first thing that you could try, I mean, other than sun fiber, would be the nicotinic acid. And there's low dose, even the low dose will likely help. Okay. So then there's just a couple more food-based things that can help constipation. I know I spent a lot of time on this, but constipation is really, really, really a big deal. I mean, people are stuck. But anyway, prunes or prune juice. Now, it is the sorbitol in prunes or prune juice that are helping. Now, the real low vitamin A, crazy people will be like, oh my gosh, he can't recommend that. That has carotenoids in it. And I'm like, it's much more important for somebody to be pooping than it is to worry about, I would rather somebody pooped once or twice a day by eating some prunes than didn't poop and was avoiding prunes and was super good on their vitamin A. Okay. Pooping is key. So prunes, and then kiwis, actually. Kiwis have, this will be funny. You guys will be surprised. Let's go kiwi constipation PubMed. So, Joe, you can show this screen. We'll just show it right here. So I'm just going to read the titles here. Consumption of 2 green kiwi fruits daily improves constipation. There's that paper. 2 gold kiwi fruit daily for effective treatment of constipation. Do I know what the magical thing is for kiwi fruits? No, I don't. And I would not suggest gold kiwi. Obviously, that's yellowish. That's going to have more vitamin A in it. People in the Love Your Liver program have done searches for green kiwis, both carotenoids and, obviously there's no retinoids because that's an animal vitamin A type thing. That's after it's been partially detoxed. Remember, folks, your body detoxes carotenoids into animal vitamin A. That's part of the detox process. It's not your body making vitamin A for you to use. It's not that. You have been misled. Vitamin A is not a vitamin. It's a poison made by plants. And the different forms of it are the different stages of detoxing it. And it gets more toxic as you detox it. It's called biotransformation or intoxication. It's a legit thing. Many poisons, as they go through our liver, actually become more damaging, more toxic. And vitamin A, the greatest example of this is Accutane. When you consume carotenoids or retinoids, they will eventually, some of them will turn into Accutane in your body. You have been told that you need vitamin A to form the active forms of vitamin A, which they always call it the active forms of vitamin A. Why don't they call them retinoic acids? They don't want you looking up and seeing that the very things they are calling a vitamin that is essential. So what they say is essential for you to live is retin-A, tretinoin, and Accutane, isotretinoin. And if you don't believe me, I can show you studies where those things are in the blood of people who are not taking the medications. Where did they come from then? Do you want to eat Accutane? Do you want to eat retin-A? Because that's what it's turning into in your system. People denying this are the most delusionally, ignorant people of the science I've ever seen. It's right there in the biochemistry of it. I've shown it multiple times. So anyway. Mathe, I hope that helps your mom. Thank you for the super chat. That was a big thing on constipation, but it's a big topic. Very important. So let me go look at that other super chat. Where'd it go? Oh wait, I'm so far behind in the chat. Okay. Ramon says there's evidence of xylitol helping the oral microbiome. However, can it be disruptive to the gut microbiome? What is your take on xylitol all in all? Well, for any of you who are in the chat, if you've messed around with xylitol and maybe you didn't get along with it, please feel free to comment or in the comments later. Okay, so I mentioned sorbitol. You know what? I got a Kleenex out to blow my nose and I didn't blow it. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of sugar alcohols. Here's the first thing to know. Most xylitol is genetically modified. So all of a sudden, you want to mess around with xylitol, the very first thing you're looking at, it's just like if you were going to do potassium citrate or magnesium citrate. The citric acid that's used to bind to those minerals is almost all GMO. So the very first thing you have to do is find a brand that is not GMO before you even get into, is it good for me or not? I mean, because nothing GMO is good for you. Somebody brought up, there's a probiotic that they give people for avoiding hangovers. Let me find it. Let me find that one. Where is it? If somebody knows the link, feel free to post it. Somebody just sent it to me the other day. I'm trying to find the brand. Well, geez. Anyway, maybe I won't find it. But they're selling a probiotic to help with hangovers. Supposedly, this probiotic makes a lot of ALDH, which would help break down the acetaldehyde so you don't get a hangover. It's a genetically modified bacteria. I'm like, oh, yay. People are like, can I take this? And I go, I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to recommend that you take a genetically modified bacteria just so you can get drunk and be okay the next day. I mean, what part of that sounds smart? I want to drink poison, doc, and I want the poison to affect me less. So can I take genetically modified bacteria to do so. No. I mean, can you? Sure. Am I going to endorse it? No. But back to xylitol. Your oral microbiome is a result of your gut microbiome. Okay. From your mouth to your anus, it's a tube. It's all connected. Things move up and down between the whole thing. If you have an oral microbiome problem, you have a gut microbiome problem. It's as simple as that. If you have a skin microbiome problem, you probably have a gut microbiome problem. Actually, Kelsey was getting tons of testimonials in her posting them in Telegram. At least she posted them, so I got to see them, but I'm sure she's posting them elsewhere about people's gum disease and gum problems fixing themselves after nicotinic acid supplementation. Well, what did I tell you that nicotinic acid helps run so well? It helps run your ALDH system, which is related to your bile production system. Fix those things, all of a sudden, everything starts to fix. Now, also about, like, let's say there are people, we learned this in the program, that I've shown before, beta carotene can stain teeth yellow. Obviously, there's lots of yellow things out there that can stain the teeth yellow, but the big thing that will stain your teeth yellow is vitamin A, like I said, beta carotene, but retinoids are also yellow, and toxic bile, which is often yellow. So let's just say, remember how I talked about GERD and bile going up the esophagus? Well, there's two ways that you can get toxic bile and the vitamin A it contains and all the other toxins that it contains. Many, many toxins are yellow. Nature loves to mark bitter poisons with yellow color. Red's the worst color of toxicity. Okay. It's fun. This is just a funny thing. Red in nature is the worst color of toxicity. And what's the color of lipstick that might signify the most risky type of woman? It's just a weird coincidence, right? Just a weird coincidence that bright red is kind of that color. Just a thought. So how are we making yellow teeth for the most part? Well, it can be bile coming up your esophagus into your mouth. If you don't know what silent GERD is, you should learn. If you've got a chronic cough that you can't figure out, you've got a throat tickle that you can't figure out, you got yellowing teeth and you got all sorts of tooth decay, you probably have extra bile in your mouth from your gut, and it also can get into your mouth through the saliva. Your saliva is made from your blood. If your blood has a bunch of toxic bile in it, you will make saliva with toxic bile in it. I've shown this before with the research. There is bile in your saliva. So if you're marinating your teeth all day with bile that's either in your saliva or coming up from your intestines, yellow teeth can be a result. Like, think it's more of what you marinate your teeth in all day long every day, rather than like if you drank a cup of coffee. It's not the cup of coffee so much, it's the toxicity that's in you. The cup of coffee is not helping anything, that's for sure. But there's that. So do I worry about the oral microbiome when we have such really good results with people in the program? No, I don't even think about the oral microbiome. This is micromanaging by supplement companies to sell you stuff. We don't need to micromanage the oral microbiome when we macromanage the gut microbiome by not poisoning it to death with toxic bile. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. You guys, once Kelsey gets her tooth powder up, Don't worry, everybody who's gonna ask about Kelsey's store, we're gonna have it up as soon as she has it up. But yeah, my kids love her tooth powder. I love her tooth powder. It's great stuff. Super excited. I don't think she had any xylitol in it. I think there was just a little bit of mint flavor. Now, some of you out there may be like, but Dr. Smith, menthol's an alcohol. Yeah, but isn't it really nice when you talk to somebody or maybe even you kiss somebody and they got that minty thing to their mouth? It's just nice. Like, am I worried about that? Well, don't swallow the menthol. Just spit it out when you're done. It's not that hard. There's things in life that, you just kind of go, I kind of like doing that. So little menthol on your breath is not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, xylitol, all in all, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to, like, when they do xylitol nasal sprays or whatever, the xylitol is trying to, like, just make things, like, not stick to your nasal cavity. It's a Band-Aid. It's a symptomatic Band-Aid. And a lot of people don't get along with sugar alcohols. So I tend to avoid it. And then you got to figure out the GMO thing. And then are you really addressing the root cause? If xylitol affects the gut microbiome, are we going to assume, as in the big ass at the front, are we going to assume, make an ass out of you and me, that it's necessarily fixing things? Short-term studies are, until proven otherwise, mostly garbage. We want long-term. So that's my take on xylitol. Hope that was satisfactory, Ramon. Good question. Ramon is a very regular super chatter, and we really appreciate his questions. I don't see any. Oh, there's one. Okay, there we go. And Mike here. He says, hi, Mike here. What do you think of carrageenan? Since guar gum is in one of your supplements and it is often with carrageenan, is carrageenan harmless? No. Carrageenan is nasty stuff. Remember, did you remember when I said do not do straight guar gum? It will irritate the crap out of your gut. Right? Like, I mean, there's lots of things we prepare. Like, we don't eat raw oats. We cook them. We process them in a way. We break them down before we put them in our gut. So partially hydrolyzed guar gum takes out a lot of the problems that we would have trying to break it down ourselves. So yeah, the little, I don't want to say it's not a mistake, but it's a line of thinking that you're getting into, Mike, where you're thinking that just because these things are kind of similar, if one is okay, are the other ones okay? No. The one thing that I do think Ray Peat was onto, one of the few things, was that carrageenan was bad. But then I saw some joker on Twitter, some angry, bitter Ray Peat follower he was like, oh, you're selling guar gum, LOL. And I was like, you guys are just so clueless. Trying your pithy little attacks on me. It's okay. It's partially hydrolyzed. It's not guar gum. It's different. So no, I would avoid carrageenan. Yeah. That's where carrageenan comes from mostly. Seaweeds. What are seaweeds super high in? Vitamin A. Like, thickeners can be an issue. And just so you know, like with sunfiber, sometimes amazingly small doses help people huge amounts. And if they try to go higher, then things are not great. So then we just simply use the amount that works. Yes, there's a scoop in the sunfiber, folks. Does that mean you have to take a whole scoop? Absolutely not. But we have to make a serving size. I mean, that's just what we have to do. So. And the scoop, the size that we use, just so happens to be the size that's used in the studies that seem to give good results. So I just go by that. But yeah, I I would not use carrageenan. I don't know of any health benefits to carrageenan. And I know if we go in, let's just go and do. Yeah, here, let's go to WebMD. Here we go. Let me make this bigger. Carrageenan is made from parts of various red seaweeds. Red seaweeds. Not green, but red. In the Rhodophyceae family, it's commonly used to thicken foods, but it has no nutritional value. Oh, God. People use carrageenan for cough, common cold, and other conditions, but there is no good scientific evidence to support any uses. Yeah, I'm going to pass on that one. View the references. Here we go. Interesting. I'm going to pass on it. It may feed certain gut bacteria, but that could be good or bad. But yeah, pass on the seaweeds too. Seaweeds are not good for you. Some of the highest vitamin A producers out there. Red tide. When you hear about the algae that makes red tide, it makes tons of carotenoids. Do you know they've found yellow dolphins now? Like dolphins that are so full of these carotenoids that they're turning yellow. Oh, the other thing that the red tide has a lot of is iron. Iron and vitamin A in it. Wow. And it's poisoning sea creatures? You don't say. It's like these patterns are everywhere, folks. So, let's see. Did we get any more super chats? No. Or okay, no more super chats means I'm going back up to the top. But so, Mike, and like I said, does anybody need to use sun fiber? No, nobody has to use it, but a lot of people really find it helpful. Kind of like lactoferrin. And we start people slowly on both of them because they are super potent in terms of what they can do to the gut biome. You start shifting your gut biome around purposely, it's going to clean out the garbage. So that can make people feel a little worse for a while, but that should get better. If that's what they needed to do, that should get better. So, okay, so we're going to start back up at the top. Let me see. I've been trying to keep track of certain chats. Hello, Sarah. So, okay, so Cass says, my husband and I just started taking niacin 25 milligrams. I plan to stay here for a while. And I believe my husband had a big bile dump the same day into the next. Could the niacin have triggered this? It's possible. I mean, it could have been. Okay, and now this is, I'm just going to use this Cass as an example of like being a practitioner as I am and dealing with questions. Like, I mean, people have told me before I am the most patient person that they've ever come across in terms of questions. And I do it because I want people to feel better. But there's a funny line of questioning that I get sometimes where they'll be like, as an example, I was really tired yesterday. Do you know why? Or I couldn't poop yesterday. Do you know why? I couldn't sleep last night. Do you know why? And I'm like, it's one night or it's one time. The reason I've gotten so far in doing all of this is because of pattern recognition. There is no pattern with one. Do you know what I mean? One is not a pattern of anything. One is, by definition, not a pattern. So what you would need to do, could it have been? Could the niacin have caused a big unleashing of bile? Sure. Yeah, it's possible. But a lot of times when, I mean, a flush, like, okay, so my son the first time he took the nicotinic acid. My son has anaphylactic tree nut allergies. We've gotten rid of one of the three, and there was a test where one of them was like gone for a little while. So we're working on it. I plan on being the first person his allergist has ever come across who outgrows a tree nut allergy. We'll just let her believe he outgrew it. We'll just let her believe that, because she's not going to believe that we fixed it. So my son took nicotinic acid the first time, and he got a little bit of an ache in and under his left rib cage. So not the liver side. The liver's on the right. He got a little bit of an ache on the left side of his rib, inside his rib cage, right? That could have been the spleen. Spleen's very involved in the immune system, is it not? If there's a tree nut anaphylactic process, does that mean his spleen may be a little janky? Sure. Why not? The discomfort went away very quickly. I just told him to breathe through it. My son's kind of a little bit of a, he's a bit of a sensitive boy, you know, a little bit anxious, which I think goes along with the whole toxicity. Also, potentially the ex-wife's genetics in him. Anyway, it went away and he hasn't had it since. So the very first time you take nicotinic acid, interesting things can happen that don't happen again. So could it have been that? Sure. Is it a reason to not do it anymore? Only if, you know, it happens. Well, Kelsey's going to be coming out with a new article on pushing through and other things that can help with nicotinic acid. So if he has the same reaction every time, Cass, then that would be something that we might talk about pushing through. So there's that. But that's basically, if you are concerned about that, you could start buffering. I would read the buffering articles in the Love Your Liver program. Buffering may help. I think I talked to somebody just the other day who said that they were having kind of bile dumps and then they started buffering and all the problems went away. For those of you out there who think you know a lot about niacin and you don't know about buffering, which I would expect you not to know about buffering niacin, because Kelsey's pretty much the only person out there advocating it because she figured it out on her own. Those of you in the Love Your Liver program or who are in Kelsey's Telegram group, you know that she is a very, very smart cookie. And she's good at troubleshooting. Let me tell you about Kelsey's troubleshooting that she even helped me with. And this is why her articles are in the program. And this is why when I told her my mom had a UTI this weekend, couldn't figure out why. You know, she's 74 and she's older and, you know, all the stuff that goes along with it. And these things happen. Funny thing was she tells me she has a UTI and I go, oh, this makes sense, because I noticed her walking the day before was not good. UTIs really affect the brains of elderly. Whether it's chicken or the egg, you know, I can't say. But anyway, so I send Kelsey a message. My mom's got a UTI. Do you have any suggestions? Like, should I give her more niacin? And Kelsey told me what to give her, how much. And we did, and within 2 or 3 flushes, which she didn't even flush. On the dose that she used to take that flushed her, she didn't even flush. And I told Kelsey that, and she's like, yeah, her body's just using it all up. It's like starving for it right now. So I give it to her. The UTI is basically gone within 24 hours. It's good to have good friends, you know? And I did some of the other things with her. I had her do a little bit of part 1 of a certain 3-letter chlorine compound in her water that will not be discussed here. And yeah, within 24 hours, her symptoms were gone. After the first flush, the chills that she was getting after going to the bathroom were gone. By the second one, the urinary frequency was gone. It was amazing. My mom was like, I'm going to go in and get some antibiotics. And I was like, no, we're doing this first. I mean, she could have gone and I wouldn't have stopped her, but my mom trusts me. And so we fixed it within 24 hours. Thank you, Kelsey. Let me see. Oh, there's Ramon. Okay. So Ramon says, what do you think of white vegetables like peppers and carrots and tomatoes versus their colored counterparts that are normally high in vitamin A and other toxicities? Okay. The very nature. So you're talking about nightshades generally. Nightshade. Okay. So would white versions be less toxic? Yes. But, and the toxic stuff that is in nightshades is implicit to nightshades, capsaicin and peppers. I mean, are we talking, are we going to say that these white peppers are not spicy? Because if they're spicy, they have capsaicinoids in them, and those are inflammatory, irritants, and toxic. If we're going to talk about white potatoes have alpha-chaconine and solanine in them. These are toxic glycoalkaloids. You said white peppers. I mean, there's no such thing as white eggplant. Remember, eggplant was called like mala insana, the crazy apple in Italy for a very long time. And they said if you ate it every day for a month, you would lose your mind. Sounds pretty toxic to me before they knew about how to tell these chemical compounds in them. And white tomatoes are going to have probably the vitamin D in them. All the nightshades contain oral vitamin D. And then it's going to contain, well, I don't know if it's going to contain the carotenoids. Maybe not. But it's less toxic. If you had to choose, if somebody was saying, Dr. Smith, we're going to force you to eat tomatoes today. What color tomatoes do you want? White or red? White or green? Green is the worst color of the nightshades. So green peppers, green tomatoes. Like a lot of people know that if they eat green tomatoes or green peppers that they get heartburn. Weird. So green of the nightshades is the worst color. Like green potatoes. Oh my, you could kill yourself. Like you could send yourself to the hospital with green skin potatoes if you ate the skin. So, and yeah, be real careful with green potatoes. If you're going to try to save some money and just peel the heck out of them, you better get rid of all that green if you're going to decide to do that. Like not just be like, oh, well, I can kind of see little green streaks here and there. No, you get rid of all of that. Probably be better to just throw the potatoes away if they're significantly green. You just didn't get to them. If they have big sprouts on them, probably better to just not even bother trying to peel them away. Okay, I can't tell you how big is big, but you should be able to tell. So, yeah, nightshades that are white would be less toxic. Can I put a number on it for you? No, I can't. Okay. So, okay, Xander, do we have any recommendations if someone was exposed to ivermectin and HCQ? Thanks for all you do and saving me from the Ray Peat cult. You are welcome, Xander. I'm so glad. I love helping people out of that. Do you know that Ray Peat's mentor was like, I think he went to jail for like running a weird little diet cult where if women didn't follow it, they would get like paddled and stuff like that. And then Ray Peat does his weird nudie paintings and stuff. Bunch of weirdos. I'm just saying. So, and that's all true. That's not made up. So ivermectin. Okay, so this is Xander. Actually, this is an important point. I have inside the Love Your Liver program. So for those of you who are in the Love Your Liver program and you haven't explored a lot, there is the Vitamin A Detox Archives, which you can find under the courses section. That was the original Vitamin A Detox program. Now, I'm not going to do a bunch of discussion on this. I'm just going to tell you how I feel about this topic. In the old Vitamin A Detox program, there was a section of articles on homeopathic detox therapy. Now, some people, because they've been corrupted and biased by mainstream, go, oh my God, homeopathy. Is Dr. Smith going to talk about homeopathy? Yeah, I am. Do I have experience with homeopathy? I learned it in naturopathic medical school. Have I used homeopathy myself? Yes. Have I seen benefits from it? Yes. Have I seen it not work at times? Yes. What homeopathic detox therapy is specifically about is undoing the damage done specifically by specific medications. Like, oh, I don't know, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, jabs, antidepressants, benzos, birth control, Accutane. I just made a video last night. It's funny that you bring that up, Xander. I made a video last night expounding upon some of the things that, so we have the articles on homeopathic detox therapy will tell people how to do it on their own. Funny thing, one of the very first remedies we use in homeopathic detox therapy is called Polybowel Plus, and it's to homeopathically do a reset of the gut biome. Wow. So it's weird that in homeopathic detox therapy, the very first thing they do is a gut biome remedy, and then they do something for the medication or chemical poison that damaged your liver. Does this sound like toxic bile theory at all? Weird. But it's another approach. And when it works, when homeopathic detox therapy works, it works amazingly. And as I tell people, when it doesn't work for you, when it's not the magic ticket, you're out $100-something. And I always remind people, we have all spent obscenely stupid amounts of money on stuff that didn't work for our health in the past. So if you're not willing to take the gamble on $100-something that may just absolutely change your life, like sometimes people, let's say a woman tries, the biggest ones we do, especially for women, are birth control. And for men, it's like Accutane, or a lot of times it's antidepressants. But the two big ones that we have the most, birth control and Accutane. The key thing to picking your remedy in this is which drug or poison or toxic compound were you exposed to, did you take, that you can say, my life was never the same, or my quality of life was never the same after I took it. Now, there might be one of those in your life. There might be multiple. What's the first one you pick? The one that you would say was the most damaging. But everybody starts with Polybowel Plus. And I just made a good video about the basics of homeopathic detox therapy and troubleshooting it and I'm moving that into the main Love Your Liver program today. So funny that you brought that topic up. So let's say, Xander, you look into your history and maybe ivermectin or HCQ didn't really cause you any problems. That's okay. You don't have to. Some people, they learn about homeopathic detox therapy and they want to do every single medication they've ever taken. Did I do that? No, I did ketoconazole, which was the medication. I did ketoconazole and Polybowel Plus the very first time. And I think I did another round after that of another 2 meds. And I think I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm not going to do every single med I've ever taken, but some people want to do that. So what I would say, Xander, in your situation is if you decided to look into homeopathic detox therapy. Now, just so you know, folks, these remedies, homeopathic detox therapy remedies, are only available to practitioners. And so I only facilitate people getting them if they are in the Love Your Liver program. So don't email Julie or the office and say, I want to get these remedies, but I'm not a member of the Love Your Liver program. No, you got to be in the program. I'm not just going to give this crap out all over the internet for people to go and mess up and then say they did something wrong because they didn't have the information and they didn't have the buy-in to go into a $99 a year program. If you're not going to buy in that much, don't. I don't have any time for you. This is not you, Xander. I'm just saying people in general. As I joke about, I too like to have a roof over my head and food on my table. People who think I should give away everything for free, well, go away. So what I would say, Xander, is from your situation, if you chose to pursue this, okay, so the general Love Your Liver program can address, I mean, we don't have to address specific medications. We don't have to, because if we generally fix the liver, things get better and your body can repair this damage. So first I would say the general, if you want my best work, you work with Nathan or I, or we may have potentially some new practitioners in the works, but work with Nathan or I on hair testing and blood testing and the consultation and the office hours. And that is our best work. If you want to do the DIY all by yourself, you could do the Love Your Liver program, members.nutritiondetective.com. Now, just so you people know, if you ever buy a testing and consultation package, you have lifetime access to the Love Your Liver program. Like, never have to pay a membership fee again to the Love Your Liver program. So those would be the two things. So that would be the basics of the Love Your Liver program. Then if you wanted to go, the next thing that you could do would be, first, if you decided to do homeopathic detox therapy, is you would pick the remedy based on what I said about which one was the most important one to start with. Okay. That could be any med. And then once you decide you've gone through that first 8-week round of homeopathic detox therapy, then you could, if you were like, well, let's do ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. I'm sure we have those. So that would be like an idea of how you would go through that. So good question. Very, very good timing. And no, that was not a plant. Really. It seems a little bit like it, because I was like, oh, I'd love to talk about homeopathic detox therapy today. Okay, so there was another super chat. Uncle Ale asks, thoughts on calcium D-glucarate. Does it actually help with detox? So this is a funny topic. Thank you for the super chat, Uncle Ale. Everyone who gets into, this is a funny thing. Everyone who gets into vitamin A detox in the start, and they think they're a good researcher. They go into the research and they're like, oh, vitamin A glucuronidation, just take calcium D-glucarate and it'll fix everything. And this is all you really need to do. And I'm like, wow, you must be a rookie. Calcium D-glucarate, of course I tried it. I mean, I've looked at all of this stuff. I have not found calcium D-glucarate. First of all, I don't really like giving people more calcium. And let me go find let me go see what we got here. Okay. So, Joe, if you can show the screen. So, they talk about calcium D-glucarate in foods. Glucuronic acid, I believe is what it is. So, calcium D-glucarate is just calcium bound to a glucuronic acid. What do we got here? Funny that they're pushing cruciferous vegetables, things that slow down detox because they're so full of sulfur. So if we look here, Brussels sprouts are a crucifer, cabbage is a crucifer, broccoli is a crucifer, cauliflower is a crucifer. I believe kale is too, isn't it? So 5 of the top 10 foods with calcium D-glucarate are all crucifers, cruciferous vegetables, which are known to be consumed raw in excessive amounts, anti-thyroid. Weird. But then they push them as being these like anti-estrogen and yada, yada, yada. It's a bunch of garbage. Don't eat cruciferous vegetables except on occasion. And then the only one that would be really best would be white cauliflower, because then at least you avoid all the vitamin A and all the other stuff that's in the rest of them. So, but as we start going through here, are there a lot of vitamin A foods that are high in glucuronic acid? We have oranges, squash, broccoli is very green, grapefruit, bean sprouts would not be terrible. But you start looking at foods we avoid. And we avoid a lot of these foods. Yes, apples are there. I'm not ignoring apples. Do we encourage apple consumption? Yeah. Is it for the calcium D-glucarate in it? No. I mean, it may be a bonus, but I just haven't seen. I mean, I remember reading one guy. He was like, glucuronidation, that's it. And I was like, wow, you missed the boat. Really missed the boat. The guy's like, I had no health problems before. I did the vitamin A detox, and now I'm an expert on it because this is what I did. And I was like, you didn't have any problems before, and you live on like a vacation island, and apparently you have hours a day to go do breathing exercises. I was like, dude, you don't live in the same world as the rest of us. He was just like, breathing exercises fixes vitamin A toxicity. I was like, oh, okay. It's amazing how I love it when people on the internet are just like, this is so simple, just do this. And I'm like, wow. And then I have a bunch of people who are like, I tried that, it didn't work. And I'm like, okay, that's about what I thought. So, does it actually help with detox? I mean, you can get it through food. So I just don't see. I used it in practice. I didn't see it doing anything much. And then there were some people who really didn't get along with it. So we've tried and left behind many of these things that, I mean, they'll sell you everything from cruciferous vegetables, you know, the DIM and the indole 3-carbinol and the calcium D-glucarate. Like, you realize that cruciferous vegetables are all created by man, basically. Like your broccoli, your Brussels sprouts, your cauliflower, your cabbage are all hybrids of the mustard plant. Look it up. So man created all these cruciferous vegetables that you eat today. And somehow they figured out, oh, these are also amazing for us, even though God never made them in the first place. We had to make them. And then bugs don't really like, why do people like growing cruciferous vegetables in their gardens? Because bugs don't really like them. You know why? Because bugs are smart and they don't like sulfur. And all of these vegetables are full of sulfur. That's their pesticide. So, or it may not be a pesticide, but more of a insect repellent. Because, I mean, could you imagine if somebody smelled like sulfur? You'd avoid them. Actually, on that note, we do tend to avoid people who smell like sulfur. Onions and garlic. Right here, I want you to wrap your head around this, folks. People think onions and garlic smell and taste good when they're in food and they're cooked. But then how does the perception change once somebody eats a bunch of onions or garlic or both? And it's coming out of their breath, or it's coming out of their armpits, or it's coming out of their sweat. And it's the same smell. People say body odor smells like onions, and then it's the grossest thing ever. Where's the cognitive dissonance? Why aren't people realizing that if your instinct is to reject the scent of onions and garlic when it's coming out of a person, when the person is detoxing it, do you not understand that it's toxic when it goes into you? You don't have to like it for it to be true. So, let me see if I can find something here. Nope, wrong one. Okay. So, look through here. Oh, there she there. So I wanted to make sure Kelsey was here. Hello, Kelsey. Nice to have you here. Very nice that you could join us. She's really making some awesome stuff. Super excited to announce her store. Don't go bug Kelsey about it. She'll get her store up when it's up, and we will announce it everywhere. It'll probably be an Etsy store, I think, and she'll be doing her own thing there. So super awesome collaboration. So people like myself and all of you can get cool skin care, dental care, hair care, all sorts of awesome stuff. We were talking about making a niacin, a nicotinic acid lotion the other day. That would be fun. People are really having good results with the Nia spray. So Kelsey's been putting recipes for different nicotinic acid preparations that you can use for different things. A nicotinic acid enema, there's like there's like a skin spray. There's all sorts of stuff. We got recipes in that section in the Love Your Liver program too. So if you haven't checked those out, folks, go check them out. Okay, so couldn't keep up with the chat today. It's great to have so many people here. We had, I think, a record in the live chat last week of 86 people at once. So we're growing. Definitely growing. Had 328 people join in the last 38 days. So welcome all. And let me just go back up. So I got to Cass's question. Mathay says, I'm at Livestream 8. Thank you for putting Mathay in your actual screen name. I keep wanting to say Matej, but I'm like, just read the Mathay. He's saying he's at Livestream 80. It's actually one of the only things I watched these past 4 to 5 months since starting the Love Your Liver lifestyle. Cool. Thank you. I'm glad it helps. I'm glad you enjoy them. This is to help people. We've had lots of people get lots of help from just the live streams. So glad you're enjoying it. I hardly watch any YouTube anymore at all. Like I used to watch. Here's the funny thing, folks. If you do this program and you do the nicotinic acid especially, it's an interesting thing that happens. And those of you who are in the chat or in the comments later, and you've been doing this with us and you notice this, you start rejecting things that you know are not good for you. And sometimes you realize you're doing it, and sometimes you just lose your interest in them. As an example, people with nicotinic acid will often start losing their taste for what we're seeing now: alcohol, sugar, vinegar, like these things that are probably not great for us. But they're kind of like not super toxic, so we tend to just keep doing them. But then I started noticing I used to kind of follow certain YouTube channels. There were a little bit of fear mongering. And all of a sudden I know it happened with the nicotinic acid. I just stopped watching them entirely. I was like, I have no desire to watch it. We talk about this in terms of poison begets poison. Like the more toxic you are, the more toxins you want. As an example, there have been plenty of men in the program who have said that they know that when they were at their most toxic, like chemically, dietarily, drug-wise, whatever, that was when they were watching the most porn. And then as they got healthier, they were able to start moving away from that. It's all connected, folks. I mean, you can't. Those of you who have had anxiety and depression in the past, and maybe you're better now because you fixed your nutrition and your toxicities and your deficiencies and all of that stuff. when you're biochemically messed up and your brain is functioning on a biochemical trash soup, you can do things like breathing and focusing and trying to be present and all the other things that you can do actively. Just like you could hold your posture better. You can suddenly go, oh, I'm going to stand in better posture. But what happens as soon as you're distracted? Or your brain goes back into the loops that it was in. I used to be part of this kind of like self-growth approach, and I go in there every week, and I was like, the guys come in, it was a men's group, the guys come in with the same issue every week, like they're not making any progress. How much of that is biochemical that they don't know they have? And folks out there, those of you who have tried self-growth and trying to do techniques to fix these things, did you maybe have an experience where once you fixed your biochemistry, these mental patterns that you had of anxiety or depression or ruminating or whatever, they just disappeared because it was the biochemistry that was driving the brain problem? Get rid of the biochemistry problem, you stop thinking about these things. Abram Hoffer, Kelsey could share, some of the links about Abram Hoffer. They were fixing schizophrenia with 3,000 milligrams to 5,000 milligrams of nicotinic acid a day. So if I tell you that nicotinic acid helps you detox vitamin A, especially, and then they were fixing, and then I have a paper called three separate lines of evidence showing that retinoids, vitamin A, are the cause of schizophrenia. So we have a paper showing that 3 different lines of evidence, 3 different pathways that show that vitamin A is the cause of schizophrenia. And then I tell you that, and Kelsey, as she taught me, that nicotinic acid is basically like accelerating vitamin A detox, and that they were fixing schizophrenia with 3,000 to 5,000 milligrams of nicotinic acid a day. That's a big dose. That's not something you start at, folks. And that's something that has to be buffered if you don't want to have potential long-term issues with it. That's all in the Love Your Liver program. But do you see the connection? Like, it all starts to make sense. Like, can you just give a schizophrenic some mental exercises to do and just make it go away? No. It's a biochemical thing. You fix the biochemistry, poof, it goes away. People keep telling me I look happier and happier doing these things. And what am I doing? I'm just same stuff I've been doing. It's just as you do it longer. It's a marathon, not a sprint. As you do it longer, these things build on each other. Oh my goodness. I tell people not to text me during my live stream, like friends. I'm like, Tuesdays, don't text me. And I've got 18 notifications on my phone right now. I'm like, people, come on. Okay, so Uncle Ale, let me go find your stuff, Uncle Ale. Thank you for all the super chats. Okay, so he said, thank you for the answer. Could you explain a bit more how sulfur slows down detox? Well, let me go find. Oh, wait, let me do. Should I do sulfur? Let me do sulfur, not sulfite. May have to go on PubMed. Oh, here it is. I think I've been over this paper before. So, Uncle Ale, one of the things I have figured out, my contribution to this whole, I have a couple contributions, but one of the biggest contributions I think of mine will be the importance of aldehyde dehydrogenase as one of the most critical detox pathways in the entire body for health. So here's the title of the study. Is aldehyde dehydrogenase inhibited by sulfur compounds in vitro and in vivo studies? So obviously, they're doing these studies because there's a suspicion. Let's see. Studies were performed in vitro, so that's in cells, using yeast ALDH and various reactive sulfur species, including sodium, disodium sulfide. I don't want to say the chemical names of these because Kelsey will just tell me later. She's like, you said that wrong. You said that wrong. So, the obtained results clearly demonstrated that ALDH could be regulated by sulfur species, which inhibited its enzymatic activity. This is a little bit of gaslighting. It's regulated by sulfur species which inhibited it? Wait, so inhibiting is regulating? So if I drive my car with the emergency brake on, is that regulating my speed? Somebody might technically get into the stupid definitions of it, but we understand that regulating would be like, we would want to, I would want to think of regulating as a positive thing. Aldehydes are super toxic to us. So if it's inhibiting that activity, that would be a bad thing. I would not use the word regulating for it, but whenever science wants to hide toxicity, they use terms like modulate and regulate. And what's the one that they use with vitamin A? Retinoic acid. Oh, what's the word? I've been over this before. I think I went over on Twitter. Signaling. They'll use the word signaling to hide toxicity. So, after treatment with polysulfides or hydropersulfides, the level of protein-bound sulfur increased while the activity of the enzyme dramatically decreased. The enzyme they're talking about is ALDH. Moreover, the study demonstrated that ALDH activity was inhibited in vivo in whole animals, living animals, in the rat liver after garlic-derived trisulfide administration. This is the first study reporting the regulation of ALDH activity by sulfane sulfur species, and the results suggest that it leads to inhibition of the enzyme. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Sulfur slows your detox. We have all been lied to about sulfur being needed for detox. That's it. But it's purposeful. I believe it is purposeful from the very, very top that they're going to make these studies and they're going to convince like naturopathic doctors, oh, sulfur, like take your NAC and take your glutathione and do all this stuff. All they're doing is Band-Aids at the very best. I tried glutathione in practice. Didn't do crap, and some people felt way worse on it. Like, why don't we fix the liver and let the liver make the glutathione? Seems smart to me. If glutathione is such a powerful antioxidant, why don't we let the liver make that and not take in a bunch of plant antioxidants? Oh, antioxidants. Oh, here's another one, Uncle Ale, since since it seems like you're new. So this detox system, ADH, alcohol dehydrogenase, and ALDH, aldehyde dehydrogenase, are what they call oxidative processes. Okay. In my opinion, the most important detox processes in your body are oxidative. Basically, breaking things down is one way to look at it. What did they push on us as being the next wave of health for the last 20 or 30 years? The antioxidant garbage theory of health. That if you just eat enough antioxidants, all your health problems will go away. Has that worked, or has everybody gotten sicker? Pretty sure everybody's sicker. So, yeah, I'm going to pass. Now, Susan asked, our hormones are sulfated, right? It's not that, okay, so here's the deal. There is no diet that has no sulfur in it. Meat has quite a bit of sulfur in it. But maybe you've noticed that usually, you can eat meat and not get gassy, but you start eating a lot of these other sulfurous things like cruciferous vegetables and you can get very, very gassy. And what does it smell like? It smells like sulfur. Here's just another funny thing. In the Bible, brimstone is sulfur, and that's the smell associated with hell and the devil. So anyway, maybe there's some signs in the past. And then what color is sulfur? Oh, it's yellow. Now, can things be sulfated? People get into the sulfated thing all the time. I've been over this with somebody else who used to be in the program, but became an egg cell and couldn't jump past only vitamin A being a problem. Vitamin A will mess up your sulfation patterns more than anything else. So the people who are like, but sulfation, I'm like, if that's a process that's useful, that's important, vitamin A toxicity messes that up too. So how do we fix that? It's not putting more sulfur into the system. It's not taking magnesium sulfate baths. It's taking out the toxicity. That's what it's always been. I think glyphosate messes up sulfation too. And glyphosate blocks vitamin A detox at the cytochrome P450 level. I've kind of gone over, I've kind of covered all of these things. I'm not saying I'm expecting you to know it all, but these things have been covered. The most important thing to do. So what is pushed on us by supplement companies and everybody else out there? Like the liver eaters and all that stuff. They're like, nutrient density. No. It is much more important to not put toxins in than it is to worry about putting more nutrients in. If you have to priorities, I'm not saying we don't do both. We correct nutrition toxicities and deficiencies. But if somebody said which one is more important, it's reducing the toxicities. Absolutely. No doubt. I would never say any different. You don't try to put a turbocharger, nutrient-dense foods, and obscene amounts of supplements on a dirty, poorly maintained engine. Because all you'll do is burn out the engine faster. And a lot of the things that these nutrient-dense people think are actually good for you are toxic. So therefore you get, and why would nutrient-dense foods have lots of nutrients in them, but also, as I say, lots of toxins? Think about this. That plant and that animal's liver had to protect themselves from the toxins that they make. Right? Just because you have a gun in your house doesn't mean you can't get shot with it. Get it? Right? A knife can cut you as easily as it can cut somebody else. You have to protect yourself and take action so that the very thing the plant uses to damage somebody doesn't damage themselves. You get it? You start to see now? Even nature has to protect itself from its own poisons. People are like, why are all the highest vitamin A foods also high in vitamin C? Well, there you go. Why are all the really high potassium foods full of vitamin A? There you go. Why does it seem like all the high copper foods are high in zinc? So your body, so that it's protected against the copper. And then we look for the foods that have the least amount of the toxins and then are still getting people by. We're not having people fall apart from nutrient deficiencies. And we're not trying to eat nutrient-dense foods. I don't even think about nutrient density other than potassium in any of the foods. It's not a big deal. So, let's go on to the next one. Vedant Puri, I hope I said your name right, or at least close. New to Love Your Liver program. Wondering what the side effects of Humira are. Been on that for 4 years for hydrolyzed suppurativa. Effed up acne after maxing out Accutane. Wow. I mean, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Maxing out Accutane. Okay. Well, okay. First, I would say go and we have a live stream on acne. Joe, if you can find it, that'd be great. But if anybody else knows which number it is and you can tag Vedant, that'd be great. In terms of the side effects of Humira, well, that's an interesting question because the side effects of a drug are whatever it does to you. Right? When they say, well, there's a 50% chance of this side effect, that doesn't matter because if you get the side effect, it's 100% for you. Right? Each person is different. Different people can get different effects. That's why they have these gigantically long side effect lists because it could affect anywhere in your system. So in terms of your side effects, they're your side effects. Okay, so let me just go and do a quick search. Let me find the generic name of Humira first. Adalimumab. Say that like 6 times fast. Adalimumab. There it is. It's spelled right. Okay. Joe, you could probably show this. I don't know what's going to come up on this. But so adalimumab is an autoimmune medication. Autoimmunity is toxicity. Okay, so Vedant, I want to tell you, acne is toxicity coming out of your skin. As we went over in the acne episode of the live stream, acne is very definitively a nicotinic acid deficiency. Often there's significant zinc deficiency with it. And then there's vitamin A toxicity and copper toxicity. These are all things that we address. So they did this paper. Like, I don't know what we're going to find in this paper. This is me going in blind. So they got the UMABs on the effects of these on biliary inflammation in individuals with primary sclerosing cholangitis. So this means their bile ducts are inflamed and slowly closing shut. Okay. And inflammatory bowel disease. Well, what do you think in toxic bile theory is causing their inflammatory bowel disease? Toxic bile going into their guts. Now, let me set this up in terms of toxic bile theory. I have never looked at this paper. What I'm going to say is that if these medications reduce bile production, reduce bile output by the liver, do you understand the parts that were getting irritated by the toxic bile? The bile ducts, that's the primary sclerosing cholangitis, and the inflammatory bowel disease, that's the toxic bile coating the intestines and damaging them. So, one way to reduce the bile duct inflammation and the gut inflammation would be to slow down bile production by the liver. And if this poison medication did that, we would see improvements in the symptoms. Let's say autoimmune disease is toxic bile leaking into your blood, and you take medications that slow or shut down bile production. You could then see the autoimmune symptoms improve because the less bile that the liver makes, the less bile can leak into the system, the less inflammation you see. Does that mean you fixed anything? No, it doesn't mean you fixed a thing. Okay? So let's just go look. I was just setting that up. I don't know what we're going to see here. Well, here we go. So with just this quick conclusion, current evidence suggests that biological therapies used for the treatment of irritable bowel disease are not effective treatments for primary sclerosing cholangitis. So that's basically that. 12 to 24 months. Didn't change much, but let me go look and see if we have anything else. Because I searched for bile, if you want to see what I searched for. I searched for bile. The other term we can use is metabolomics. I often measure bile in the term when they use the term metabolomics. That's when they're measuring a whole bunch of things in the blood, typically, I believe. Oh, it's a monoclonal antibody. Oh, no, this is an ADBM. Sorry. Okay, let's go over this. This is why it wouldn't have affected the liver. Antibodies, folks, Vedant, antibodies are made with the express purpose of binding to toxins. This is why our body makes antibodies. Viruses are an expression of toxicity in the body. This is why when they try to, they tell you they're looking at your virus load, but they actually measure antibodies because they're looking at the toxicity level. Even though they don't know what they're doing, they're looking at the toxicity expression in your system via looking at antibodies. Retinol binding protein is basically an antibody. Our bodies make proteins to bind to toxins because it makes the toxin less toxic while it's in our system. So what is medicine treating autoimmune disease, which is, I say, is toxicity? Oh, they're treating it with antibodies, you say. Very interesting. Somebody brought up, if somebody has information on this, somebody started bringing up that like the monoclonal antibodies that they were using during COVID. What do we say that the flu and colds and the coof are, folks? A massive triggered toxic bile dump that is leaking into your system and making you feel like garbage for a week or two. That's what colds and flus are. They're bile. It's not some magical little non-sentient protein strand making your body have all these symptoms. And then your body's reaction is to make a fever to try to burn it off. Get over the whole burning it off thing. A fever is toxicity. Unleashing that in your system. This is why fevers could kill you. Why would your body do something that could kill you? As a defense mechanism. It's the bile. Bile is behind your hot flashes. Bile is behind, when you wake up at night and you're hot. Bile is behind your night sweats. Bile is behind a fever. So, what do a lot of the things that we take for colds and flus do? They slow down your bile production. And this is how they make you feel better. And then you get through it. So could you do, if you were in a life-threatening situation and you use like a really strong medication to shut down your bile production and it could save your life? Yes. Yes. That can work. Would I want that done to me if I was dying? Sure, of course. I'm not stupid. But the side effects of Humira after, been on that for 4 years, for that after the Accutane, well, basically, I can't tell you what it's done to your system. And here's the critical thing about what we do. You hit the max. Okay, so hold on. Let me see this. Vedant, maxing out Accutane equals hit the maximum permissible dose a person can take when I was 20. Wow, man. Basically, whatever has been done to your liver and your bile via well, there was something going on before you were 20. That's what caused the acne. And then after you were, you did the Accutane, which did whatever it did to your liver. And then now you're doing the Humira. It's all just the good news here is, like I was saying to, I think Xander earlier, we just start fixing the liver. And so the goal would be, we start fixing the nutrient deficiencies that can go along with acne, like nicotinic acid, like zinc. We start fixing the toxins coming in that we can work on, like less vitamin A, less copper, that kind of stuff. And then over time, as the situation got better, you should be able to, with your doctor's cooperation or not, I mean, it's your life. You decide which poisons you want to take. Your doctor is there theoretically to help you, not to tell you how to live your life. This is why I tell people I'm a guide more than anything. I'm not here to tell you what to do and, force you to do things. And if you don't do what I want, you're not going to be my patient anymore. I don't do that. That's for small people. I'm here to help people become their own person, not a doctor's little experiment. So it would be, we start the, if you were doing this stuff, it would be start the Love Your Liver program. Start fixing your liver, putting in the nutrients, avoiding the toxins. If you wanted to work on the testing and consultation to get better results faster, that would be the next step. And then it would be, if you chose to, the homeopathic detox therapy. If you actually felt like, what your side effects were, did they start before you ever took Accutane? Was there a medication that caused that? Or did Accutane mess you up real good? Or did Humira mess you up real good? That would be your choice. You would have to pick, which one if you wanted to start with it, which one messed me up the most? And then you start there. And then however well that one works, and then if you go, okay, well, what was the next one that messed me up the worst? And then the next one after that, then you could do those. So that would be the good news is we can fix the liver without, some people don't grok this. I don't have to know what medications you did. I don't have to know what poisons you took in. What we need to do is start reducing the toxins in, facilitating the toxins out. That's like charcoal and soluble fiber. And then correcting the nutrient deficiencies that are necessary to run the detox processes and to be the machinery that runs the detox system. And then if somebody's on a medication, let's say for a condition, over time, as they start to improve all around that issue usually starts improving. And then the person themselves or the person in concert with their physician can then start weaning themselves off the medication. And then eventually they don't need the medication anymore. And then they're not on the poison medication anymore. And then they do even better. So yeah, that's kind of how I would go. I can't say what side effects you had. I can't put numbers on the liver. Like I can't say you're at a 7 out of 10 or you're at a 4 out of 10, or I can't do that. We can look at your symptoms and we can kind of make an assumption, but still, however bad your symptoms are, the general concepts and principles that we use are still the same. So I hope you got something out of that. Yeah, Zendog Breath, Bill Wilson. I'm going to get to yours, Ramon. Zendog Breath says Bill Wilson worked with Abram Hoffer on nicotinic acid. See link in chat. Yeah, there was Bill Wilson was the Alcoholics Anonymous guy, correct? Nicotinic acid was supposed to be the 11th step. But from what I've read, the other board members or investors or whatever, the other partners in the whole Alcoholics Anonymous thing wouldn't let it happen. What if it was the key? And what if the bad people in the world, they wanted more people to have more difficulty with getting off of the devil's water than they would have otherwise? What if there was a supplement that people could take that made them reject alcohol? I mean, what does conventional medicine do with alcoholism? They make you take a pill every day that then if you drink, it makes you feel horrible. So you could still want to drink. It's the weirdest thing. Like, you're going to take a pill so that if you get the urges to drink and you do drink, it makes you feel worse because, oh, guess what the pill to stop alcoholism slows down. Wait. It's a detox enzyme. It's coming to me. Oh, it slows down ALDH. So they make you feel even worse by slowing down your ALDH. Oh, disulfiram does that too. For disulfiram, they use it for Lyme. And if you slow down ALDH, you tend to slow down bile production. Weird how all this connects if you understand toxic bile theory as I'm putting it out here so far. We're working on a very thin book right now. Me and William want to put toxic bile theory into a small book so people can share it and stuff like that. It's not done yet. I'm just getting back into it. So don't ask. I will tell you guys about projects. Don't bother Julie and don't bother me about it, because if it's out, you'll know. Don't ask about lactoferrin. I'm busting my ass on that stupid lactoferrin supply chain problem every day. So anyway. But yeah, imagine, so instead of giving them disulfiram so that they get super sick if they drink alcohol, well, imagine the opposite. What if you gave them nicotinic acid where they feel better, their health problems start to get better, their liver starts to get better, they start to lose their taste for alcohol, they start to lose their taste for other poisons like, oh, I don't know, maybe the cigarettes that alcoholics always seem to smoke. They lose their taste for crappy fast food. They lose their taste for destructive pastimes. Could you imagine what that would do to industries? Do you know how hard it is to find nicotinic acid in supplement stores? Like they might sell one type of bottle of it. It's almost like there's a conspiracy or something. Anyway. Oh, so back to Ramon's question. What forms of magnesium and potassium are the ones you recommend? Ramon, now you've been here long enough. You should know that this is not that easy of an answer. Which forms? I could list them off. I think I did this before on the. You may want to, Ramon. You may want to review, for those of you who didn't see it. I did an episode all about magnesium about like 2 or 3 episodes ago. Everything's like 2 or 3 episodes ago, right? So I did that. The general gist. I spent 2 or 3 hours on magnesium, so I don't want to do all that again. Topical magnesium is the best to raise your systemic levels. Okay? Our magnesium lotion, in my humble opinion, is the best product out there. It is twice as strong as everything else. That's typically magnesium chloride. So when you're looking at topical magnesiums, you're typically looking at magnesium chloride. I prefer USP magnesium chloride. It's the cleanest. The Zextine flakes are kind of like a second down the way. I do not like Great Salt Lake stuff. Do you know that the Great Salt Lake at various times has had like the highest mercury levels ever recorded in like bodies of water? I'm not getting my magnesium from that place. I'm not getting trace minerals from that place. I'm not touching that. So, and I do not like Epsom salts. Why would I not like Epsom salts in terms of a topical approach that you could take a bath in or a foot soak or whatever? Magnesium sulfate. If you've ever had a bad reaction to an Epsom salt bath where you get out and you're like heart's pounding and you can't sleep and all this stuff, it's the sulfate. So, topical is magnesium chloride. In terms of pills, it depends on what you're trying to do with the pills. Are you trying to poop or are you trying to absorb it? Because we use different types for different approaches. Pooping, the best ones tend to be the cheapest ones because they're not very well absorbed. Magnesium oxide, magnesium hydroxide, and then magnesium citrate can actually work pretty well as a laxative too. Any of you who ever took Natural Calm long enough, and you notice you're getting more sensitive and more sensitive and more sensitive to it over time, you got to lower your dose and lower your dose and lower your dose. kind of a citrate thing. I don't know that it's good to have that happen. But magnesium citrate is definitely an option for pooping. If we're talking about, now remember, I said magnesium orally, magnesium pills. I believe topical magnesium is 10 times as effective as pills. 10 times as effective. And about only one person, this is my estimate, 1 person in 20 can actually raise their systemic magnesium levels through magnesium pills or magnesium orally. So if you decide to say, well, I'm going to be one of those 20 and you're not one of those 20, then you're just spinning your wheels. You're not getting anywhere. I can tell on a hair test if somebody can get away with pills because they come to me, they've been on pills. I look at their hair test. I go, oh, your magnesium's all right. You're one of the lucky ones. I tell them that specifically. So anyway, so magnesium malate is one of my preferred oral magnesiums. That's the type of magnesium I put. So what do we use as a filler in Keystone Minerals? Well, I had to put a filler in there to fill the capsule. What did I use as a filler? Magnesium malate. I had the zinc, I had the molybdenum, I had the selenium, and I was like, I need to fill the capsule. Why don't we use a little bit of magnesium, right? So that's the kind of stuff I do with like my supplements. Instead of putting in like cellulose or magnesium stearate or desiccating agents or any of that garbage. Now, potassium. Potassium, there's a whole big article section in the Love Your Liver program, but I'll run through them real quick. The ones that we've used, that some of them work for some people, some of them work for other people. Some of them don't work. Some potassium supplements don't work for everybody. Potassium gluconate, potassium glycinate, potassium chloride, potassium citrate, but it must be non-GMO. Micro ingredients makes a decent potassium citrate that is not from China and it's not GMO. Micro ingredients. You can find them on Amazon, I think. So I got to work on my Amazon list because here's a funny story. Amazon kicked me out of their affiliate program because they demanded to see my links. Like, where am I posting my links? Because I was posting them in the Love Your Liver program. I'm not letting Amazon in there. Like, what am I going to give them a login? So anyway, so they kicked me out. So now I have to figure out how to do my Amazon list so you guys can find all the stuff that I recommend and I use without getting kicked out again. Oh, Amazon, you're such a kind little corporate overlord. And then for potassium sources in terms of foods, the 3 best ones that are the lowest in vitamin A: bananas, coconut water, white potatoes, well peeled, but don't do potatoes too often. They are a nightshade and they will make you stiff and achy. And if you eat potatoes every day, it's going to bite you in the butt at some point. So let me see the link that, let me find the link that Zendog put. Can somebody repost that link just so I can find it without having to look through? If you know what I'm talking about, Zendog, if you could post it again, maybe down at the bottom. And Joe did post the acne live stream. So yeah. So let's see. Zendog, you tried super chatting the link. It will not do it. Okay, so why don't Zendog send it to me on Twitter? I'll go get it. And I'll post it. Yeah, you can't post links in there. So let me go check my Twitter. If you guys don't know what my Twitter is, it is NutriDetect. Joe, you don't need to show it. Yeah, well, there, here it is. This is me. So NutriDetect. It's not Nutrition Detective because they don't give you enough letters for that. So NutriDetect. So Joe, if you can take that off the screen now. just so my private messages aren't all exposed. So yeah, Zendog, just send that to me on Twitter when you can, and I'll post it in the chat. So let's keep going. Okay. So Zendog has been a huge fan of what we do here. And he was just saying, hey, Kelsey, I started mixing my own nicotinic acid and magnesium carbonate, which is my favorite buffer, not magnesium bicarbonate. That's that magnesium water that you have to make. That would be a pain in the butt. I'm not going to do that. Magnesium carbonate is my favorite buffer. Kelsey goes over dosing both the nicotinic acid and the buffering in the Love Your Liver program. Like, you can't, there's so much information in the nicotinic acid section in the Love Your Liver program. Like, you really don't even understand. If you're just going out there and people are like, take nicotinic acid, I mean, it's better than nothing, but why not make it like really optimal? So anyway, he said he took nicotinic acid and magnesium carbonate today, going for first 1,000 milligram day today. Life is gooder and gooder. It really does get that way. So, Mathay got into, Kelsey has a Telegram group on nicotinic acid. So you can always get in there. Oh, let me get the link. I see that he sent it to me. Okay. Joe, if you can go to the screen now. Let me get the link. I'll put this in the chat. So let me make this a little bigger. Oh, the wrong one. We'll get out of here, pop up. So the forgotten chapter in Bill W's, as in Bill Wilson's struggle with addiction. Bill Wilson, if I recall correctly, he was the father. William Griffith Wilson, or Bill W, is regarded as the father of addiction treatment due to his leadership in establishing Alcoholics Anonymous. While Bill W pioneered a movement that has helped millions achieve sobriety, in the final years of his life, he explored how alternative treatment methods such as niacin, nicotinic acid, crystalline powder form, not time release, not NADH, not NMN, not nicotinamide riboside, nucleotide, whatever, none of that other crap. As Kelsey says, anything that any of those do, nicotinic acid does it better and cheaper. Could improve the recovery process. Let me just go jump down to the bottom. Let's just do this. In this report, a number of notable clinicians reported their experiences with niacin and other vitamins. One such study was completed by Dr. Russell Smith, who evaluated therapeutic effects of vitamin B3, nicotinic acid. We don't call it vitamin B3. Nicotinic acid, niacin, is an amino acid derived from tryptophan. It's not a B vitamin. We don't call it a B vitamin. The B vitamin narrative is horse shit. So it doesn't mean you don't need any of them, but it means that the whole thing's so jumbled up and screwed up. Like B6 is an alcohol and an aldehyde, and it's toxic. You don't take B6. Anyway, so the therapeutic effects of nicotinic acid, which is what they would have used, when administered to 500 alcoholics over a 5-year period, Dr. Smith found that 75% of all patients benefited from niacin therapy and demonstrated newfound strength towards remaining abstinent. This report, in a similar fashion to its predecessors, was largely ignored by the medical establishment. Do you still think the medical establishment is on your side? Have you watched family members completely crumble under alcoholism? I've had some. What if they could just take nicotinic acid and then they actually internally start to become more resilient to avoiding the poison? Because their body goes, hey, I feel better. I don't want to put poisons in me. Wow, it's easy to look at alcohol and go, I don't want it. Do you know how many billions of dollars? I mean, how much suffering happens today because of alcohol? How much suffering? And if there was an amino acid that you could take that would undo the damage of alcohol, well, that would hurt the hospital and the sick care system, wouldn't it? You could undo the damage of it. You could then lose your cravings for alcohol. Well, that would damage $1 billion and $1 trillion industry, wouldn't it? And then you want to make better food choices. Well, that would damage how many of the food supply things. You start, you just feel better, like everything. There's less meds. This is why you haven't heard of nicotinic acid very much, folks. Or maybe you did for a while like I did, and I took it for a little while and I got the flush and I was like, I was a baby about it, but I was a baby, but I had not been explained that this is okay. It's not a problem. And if you do it more times, you'll get used to it, and you may actually even start liking it because your body, think about this. Why do people start to like the flush? Even though it's still prickly, it's still hot, it's still itchy. Why do people start liking it? Because we can be trained just like a dog can. If you take the niacin and you get a flush, but then after the flush, you go, hey, I sleep better. I have better energy. I feel better. My skin is better. My pooping's better. Everything's better. Do you not realize that you get trained just like a dog to associate a reward with the flush? It's as simple as it's just psychology. Evolutionary psychology. Your body going, this reaction's a little weird, but afterwards it's good for me. I like it. It's the exact opposite of what alcohol does, right? You drink alcohol, maybe you feel a little better during it, and then you feel worse afterwards. But then you still do it because addictive things are toxic to you. So we start giving you something good, and then you start coming out of the fog. So Ramon has brought up his struggles with alcohol before here on the program. Ramon, I would highly suggest, let's say you want more potassium information, and Ramon has brought his alcohol stuff up on the chat live. It's in past episodes. I'm not telling you anything that Ramon hasn't said himself. But Ramon, one of the things you may want to do is, for $99, you can get into the Love Your Liver program for a whole year and find the potassium articles, and you could find the nicotinic acid articles. And those two things could potentially, turn your whole health ship around entirely by themselves. And you could even buffer your nicotinic acid with potassium bicarbonate and get potassium at the same time as you get your nicotinic acid. We are going to be working on all sorts of mineral nicotinates and glycinates and all that stuff. So I think I got to wrap it up. Okay. Okay, I just want to check. One more check. Joe, did I miss any super chats? Oh, Ramon says, sorry about magnesium and potassium question. Wanted a reference episode. So I don't know that I did an episode on potassium, Ramon, like a full one. But I gave you the list. And then in the Love Your Liver program, I go over like stopping points. Like this is as much supplemental potassium as you can take. This is a goal for the day. Like you go up slowly. If you don't feel good on one, then try another one. Like I go over all that stuff. I go over 50-50 salt, which is a way that every time you salt your food, you can put potassium on it without buying like the Morton's low salt, where they've got all sorts of binders, drying agents and all sorts of nasty crap in it. Like Morton's salt is they add more toxic crap to it than anything else that I wouldn't take in. So anyway, yeah, the potassium stuff is in there. The magnesium stuff, like I said, there was the whole episode. And then, what did Ramon say? He's getting the Love Your Liver program for your birthday from the wife. Awesome. The Nutrition Truth Army only grows. That's something I say on Twitter a lot. When people are like, I found your work. It's amazing. I'm watching all your live streams. I'm like, The Nutrition Truth Army only grows. It's the truth. That's what people are finding. They're like, I don't understand why I'm so sick. I do all the stuff that all the health gurus tell me, and I'm getting worse. And I'm like, that's because you were lied to or you were given bad information. It happened to all of us. I want you to understand, why am I here doing this? How did I figure all this stuff out? I'm very good at pattern recognition. I don't trust anybody implicitly. You know what? You want to know a term, a saying my dad told me when I was young? He said, believe nothing of what you read and only half of what you see. Now, I know he didn't make that up. That's not his saying. But I thought that was brilliant. And over time, I'm like, even when I read studies, I'm like, I don't believe this. One of the things you need to know, like, imagine this. Could somebody just be sitting in a room, typing up a bunch of crap on a screen, and even using AI or stealing pictures from somewhere else? And could they completely make up a study wholesale? They never did anything. And then submit it to a journal. Do you think this would be possible? Why not? If you said no, why not? Who checks up on their work? All they have to do is submit it to their peers for their peers to read. Believe nothing of what you read and only half of what you see. So did any of those peer reviewers see the study? Probably not. Do you think they could pay enough money for, like, I don't know, maybe some Chinese names to put a bunch of lies on a paper and submit it to a journal and make it look legit? Why not? So, but what I did was I made all the mistakes. I want you to understand, I got into vitamin D supplements in 2013. I am an early adopter, so I try these things earlier than most. And then I'm blessed with being fairly intuitive and fairly quick to realize that something's going sideways. So after all of these experiments in my life, when I finally came across, I talked about my vitamin D experience where vitamin D would constipate. I'd take 50,000 units and I wouldn't crap for 2 days. I went from 2 or 3 a day to not crapping for 2 days. That's where I started to go, wait, something's wrong with vitamin D. And then Grant Genereux's book on vitamin A came out, his free ebooks at ggeneroux.blog. Again, I do not recommend the forum at Grant's website. I love Grant. Grant emailed me just the other day. I love the guy. I think the forum has been infested with trolls and all sorts of people who will just shout down. It's like the worst liberal shout down place on the internet. Might be even worse than the Ray Peat forum. I don't know. But I get plenty of people from the Ray Peat forum coming here either, too, because people they'll try to talk badly about me, and then people come to the live stream and they see that I'm making sense and logical and it fits with their experience. So, but I'm an experimenter myself. When Kelsey told me about nicotinic acid, I took obscene doses. She said it was safe. I trusted her. I took like rat study high doses. Didn't feel any better from it. I didn't feel specifically better from the high dosing, but I didn't feel worse. So I believed her. If you want to know, here's a big thing about nicotinic acid. In terms of the studies where people will be like, oh, nicotinic acid wasn't good. There's like 8 case studies since it's been used since the 1950s. 8 case studies since the 1950s. 8. Don't drink alcohol if you're going to take nicotinic acid, don't drink alcohol. Pick one or the other. So like Ramon, I want to say this just because you're the one here and so everybody can hear it. If you're going to do the nicotinic acid thing, stop drinking. They do not get along together. then people will go, well, which one's the problem? Is it the alcohol or nicotinic acid? It's the alcohol. You don't need alcohol to live. You do need NAD, which is what nicotinic acid makes. Okay? Whenever there's a problem, like I always tell people this, they're like, can I take these supplements with my medication? And I go, well, your body has to have zinc and selenium and molybdenum and potassium and magnesium to live. So if you saw in the contraindications to a medication, it said, don't take zinc with this medication, do you think the problems with the essential nutrient that you need to live, or the problems with the Rockefeller poison that they're trying to give you? This should be obvious. Okay? Yeah, the inner circle. So let me just explain. There's some questions going on in the chat about the inner circle and the advanced detox network and all that stuff. Okay, so Love Your Liver program, the DIY program, $99 a year. Or it might be $99.99. I don't care. Whatever. That's the do-it-yourself program. That's where you get into the community. That's where you get the Love Your Liver program and all that stuff. The next level would be, sorry, let me skip ahead. Then there's the inner circle, which is what I'm going to go do right after this. It is a private video Q&A every week. So every week I do a Q&A there. It's $50 a month, $49.99, whatever. And that's, you can join it live and you can ask me questions in the chat. You can post questions early, so I ask them later, and then I post those videos, and those videos are available. But that's only for people who are in the Love Your Liver program. Then I wanted to make a less expensive version of the inner circle so people could see it if they couldn't afford the $50 a month, or maybe they didn't want to ask questions, or they couldn't watch it live or whatever. So it's called the Advanced Detox Program. That's $9.99 a month additional to the the Love Your Liver program. And then that's the inner circle videos 1 month later. They're posted 1 month later. So if you wanted to see more from me, if you like, you run into the live streams and you want to watch more from me, and you want to watch like 5 years going back of me chit-chatting like this, that's all available in the Love Your Liver program. So I'm going to wrap it up for today. My main website, nutritiondetective.com. That's where you can find our supplements. That's where you can find testing and consultation and all that stuff. The Love Your Liver program, the network, also called the Nutrition Detective Network, is at members.nutritiondetective.com. As I went over before, me on Twitter, NutriDetect. That's where I kind of post the most. You guys are obviously here on the YouTube channel. We do have a Rumble channel. So if you prefer to watch on Rumble, just look for Nutrition Detective over there. We changed our interesting thing. We actually, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, all of that, they just shut down our ad account. And we had a hell of a time. Let me tell you about recent adventures on Facebook and Meta and Instagram. Our business Instagram account was hacked and held for ransom. So that was interesting. And then we were trying to make I had two separate people. One of them's in Europe and one of them's in the US, trying to make us new Meta accounts, new Instagram, Facebook accounts, so we could get a new business account. None of them were approved. Well, that's weird. So then I take my old personal Instagram account and we turn that into a business account. We got away with that. And then all of a sudden now they just shut down our ads account. What am I saying that they don't want me to say? So the war is going to get more intense, folks. Sure is a good thing I'm so dang healthy. But anyway, yeah, Twitter is the place where if you want to see my thoughts on a daily basis and things that just pop into my head about detox and all that stuff, Twitter's the place. I'll figure out someday how to get the other posts, like to get the posts over to Facebook and Instagram. We just haven't done that yet. just got my new VA. I won't say who she is on the live stream, but because I don't want her to get flooded with stuff. Anyway, things are gonna happen this year. Very important things are gonna happen this year. We're working on multiple different new supplements now. Kelsey's store is gonna be out. This is the year. This is the year, folks. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. Y'all have a great day and a great week, and I will see you all next time. And then, all the information, if you need to contact us or find stuff from us, it's all in the info below. Have a great week. Bye now.